The lead singer of the Irish band U2 is Bono, and Bono was giving an interview one time in the United States about the different mindset between the United States and Ireland. And he said, in the United States, if you're driving along a country road and you look up on the hill and you see a mansion, you say, one of these days, if I work hard and I really succeed, I'm gonna have a house just like that. He said, that's an American mindset. He said, in Ireland, if you're driving down a country road and you look up on the hill and you see this lovely mansion, you think to yourself, one of these days I'm gonna get that jerk. It's a different mindset. And in the United States, we're used to that phrase, upward mobility. We're used to that phrase of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. And so sometimes we might not notice the gap between rich and poor widening and ask a hard question. Is that okay? And so I want to introduce three topics. The first one is a door. The second one is a name. And the last one is a brother. So first, a door. Now, the rich man in the parable today has a door. Sometimes it's translated as a gate, but either way, it's an opening that has a closure on it. And on one side is the rich man. And he has a wonderful life. He has every good material thing imaginable and every good experience imaginable. And on the other side is extreme poverty. A man who is starving, a man who is ill, a man who is neglected. And the only thing separating those two men is one door, and it's a closed door. And so, of course, the first challenge is for us to see a door either as a barrier or an opportunity. If it's a barrier, all it does is keep the distance between rich and poor, and the two stay on their sides and nothing changes. But if it's an opportunity, then it starts to invite us to ask harder questions. Is it okay that the gap between rich and poor is so vast? Is it okay that one segment of society should enjoy every good thing while another segment of society enjoys every deprivation possible? Is that okay? And of course, the Christian response is to say, no, that's not okay. So what do we do about it? And that's what leads us to the name. In the parable again, there's two names. We have Lazarus, who has a name, the poor man. And his name means God has helped, or God is my help. And so even in his name, we see a man who has a dependence on God, a man who relies on God for everything. And then we have another name, rich man. Now, over the years, people became uncomfortable with the fact that the rich man didn't have a name, and so they assigned to him the name Dives, which is Latin. And the Latin translation of Dives is rich man. So Lazarus is defined by his reliance on God, and the rich man is defined by his possessions. The only thing attributed to him, the only significant factor of his life is his material wealth. He doesn't have the name of the rich man who is charitable, or the rich man who reaches out, or the rich man who is generous. The only thing attributed to him, the only definition of him, is his material possessions. There seems to be nothing else. And so the first challenge to us is that the poor have names. And one of the first things we can do when we encounter poverty is to give someone the dignity of giving them a name, of recognizing their name. I spent some time in Rome at the North American College, and the seminarians had kind of a cloakroom on their way out the door because they had to walk from where they lived to where their classes were. And the wonderful thing about their cloakroom is that they always had bags of food to take with them to class. And it wasn't because they were bringing their lunch. They always carried with them on the streets of Rome a supply kit to offer help to anyone that asked, to give food to those who were hungry, to give water to those who were thirsty. They didn't give cash because that generally didn't help, but they did take care of basic material needs. And they were trained that one of the first things they should do when they encountered someone who was down on their luck was to learn their name, to actually ask them and remember what their name was. And over the years of walking back and forth to class, many of the seminarians got to know the people who lived on the streets of Rome by name. Just conferring on another person a proper name gives them dignity. It changes their identity from being a poor beggar to being a child of God. We have that opportunity. We can walk through that door and give the dignity of a proper name to the people we meet. It doesn't change their material poverty, but it does change the relationship. And that's what leads us to brothers. You know, the rich man in the parable thinks that he has 5 brothers, and he's obviously concerned about them. In fact, he's so concerned, he wants Abraham to send Lazarus back to his brothers to warn them so that they don't end up like him. The problem is, he still doesn't see Lazarus as his brother. He doesn't recognize that they have a common father, that they are both children of God. And if they are both children of God, they are brothers to each other. He still doesn't recognize Lazarus as a member of his own family. Now, I can tell you, if you have someone in your family who's hard to shop for, if you have someone that's almost impossible to find a gift for, I know that feeling. My dad has reached the venerable age where he will repeatedly tell us, I don't want anything. And of course, we aren't really comfortable with that, so we try to bring him consumable gifts, like, something to eat or something to drink. And that usually seems to be okay, because it doesn't technically qualify as a gift. But the gift that he loves the most is when his children are gathered together. The thing that he wants more than anything else on earth is for his children to come and spend time with him. God our Father has everything. He has every possible thing imaginable, and the only gift he truly desires is for his children to be together, is for his children to gather together in love and see each other as brother and sister. And so the scriptures this weekend should make us uncomfortable, because we all, no matter what our income level is, live in one of the richest countries of the world. No matter what our station in life, all of us experience pretty much what we need in our lives. We have most everything we need. But the challenge is the scriptures make us uncomfortable so that we don't become complacent. That was the great sin in the first reading that the prophet Amos names. Complacency is dangerous. It allows us to think that the status quo is somehow acceptable. There is no comfort in the change zone, and there is no change in the comfort zone. And so the scriptures intentionally make us uncomfortable so that we ask hard questions. Is this okay? And if this is not okay, what is my response in faith to my brother? Because if I don't see my brother and my sister in front of me, then I have failed to recognize my Father.